So have you ever loaded up Dead by Daylight to play some killer only to get stuck in the menu thinking, what the fuck am I doing? Sound relatable? Then this video's for you, especially during these recent times. Gamers, I am back again to talk about one of the biggest issues with Dead by Daylight as of right now, and I want it to be crystal clear that this video is indeed for killer players and maybe even perhaps survivor players who are on the fence about wanting to play killer. I strongly believe that not every single survivor in this game is out to cause killers an actual bad time. I myself play around 60% killer and 40% survivor, with 3,500 hours on my P100 Vecna. Although I play both sides, I have actively taken an interest in speaking up for one side that is continuously left in the dark and is never given a chance to speak. And yes, that would be the killer role. I also want to preface this video by saying if you come here telling us to simply log off and go touch grass, I will not be taking anything you say seriously. And you probably shouldn't take anything I say seriously because we will already disagree with each other. This video is for the killer players out there who would love to play more DBD but feel like the current state of the game is far too oppressive. For those who genuinely talk themselves out of playing whilst waiting for a game and either go switch over to Survivor or simply quit the game entirely. This is a real problem, and today we aren't just going to highlight what killer anxiety actually is, but also explain some ways to help counter it, so make sure you stick around for that. So what exactly is the truth behind killer anxiety? What is it exactly? Well, in the simplest form, killer anxiety is not knowing what is going to happen in a game that increasingly feels more oppressive to one side. It's knowing that what you are about to commit to is overwhelmingly stressful, and there are genuine ways you will be pushed, perhaps even bullied or degraded based on your performance. Yes, of course I'm speaking about the killer role in Dead by Daylight. Just like real anxiety in life, it stops you from doing the things you would love to do, and many people don't even try to understand it, which I say, you should. If you are someone who looks at people who suffer with anxiety and you laugh or you say, grow up, you are very, very privileged to not have a single clue how bad and degrading real anxiety can be. So how does this relate to killer anxiety in a video game? Well, the obvious first. If there is anyone who already suffers with anxiety, it will be multiplied due to the reasons we will discuss today when it comes to touching the killer role. It relates because you have no idea what you are going up against, and there is a sense of expectation to do well, knowing you can be bullied, having the fear of people laughing at you, or being posted all over online for your mistakes. It's also knowing that you are alone in the killer role. Although you are playing the supposed power role, you feel outnumbered, and worst, silenced. Why would you feel silenced? Because the devs have failed you. I know, right? It's a pretty big take. The developers of Dead by Daylight, Behaviour Interactive, have failed you. How? How could they have failed you aspiring killer players? Or veteran players? I can tell you right now, they have failed you because they have not given you a voice and they have left you in the dark. Over the past year or so, Behaviour have released many surveys asking players for genuine feedback so they can curate ideas in the right direction and sort specific pain points out. In every single one of these surveys, they have completely left out a voice for killer players. And yes, I know, before anyone says, well, there are 4 survivors to 1 killer and that they need the money. Yes, they do, but without the one killer, the game doesn't work. And if they ever did add killer bots to the game, that would put the game on life support if it isn't already with the amount of bugs. It is integral to make sure killer players' voices are heard just as loud and clear as survivors, for inclusion, respect, and fairness. When this doesn't happen, you create a divide in your community, which, by the way, Behaviour, we already have. It's called the us versus them. You are fueling this by listening to one side and ignoring and silencing the other. You are, as developers, contributing directly to the stress of a large group of your community and player base. It doesn't matter if you are a survivor player, a killer player, or both. All should be just as heard as anyone else when we are all human and all have committed time to your game. Leaving one side in the dark sends a message. When Behaviour release a bunch of surveys that fail to even give a single voice to killer players, you make these individuals feel out out of touch, like they're not a part of your game, like their fun and their voices aren't appreciated or respected. This directly contributes to killer anxiety, because you know as a killer player that your thoughts or feelings are never addressed. So when you jump on and have to eat 25 pallets or more in one game, and you barely have any time to play due to the gen speeds going insanely fast, you simply feel like you are isolated. It reinforces the fact that you are alone, playing a solo role with all the pressure on your shoulders. It almost sounds like if you are not willing to sweat like your life depends on it, there is no reason to play this role. So what about casual killers? Do they not deserve to play? Do they not have the right? Because what if they don't want to fight tooth and nail just to try and achieve a win, or even a 2k at best? It's almost like although the devs silence killers and just expect them to deal with things without even asking for their input, they also expect you to try your hardest. However, on the other side of the field, there is no expectation that is the same for Survivor. You see, it's only the killer role that is forced to sweat their minds off, not like survivors who, when sitting on a generator hitting skill checks, can just switch off for a little bit. When you play as killer, every single second from the match starting to when it ends requires focus and brain power. You never switch off playing this role. It is by nature more taxing on the mental than Survivor. So what happens when you deprive the players who choose this role of a voice or a way to give feedback on how they feel? It adds to killer anxiety. It adds to stress, and it creates more frustration. Why? Because right now the killer experience is abysmal. What do I mean by this? Well, 90% of the killer roster is hurt severely because of the pallet density update. The thought of loading into a game to simply eat pallet after pallet after pallet whilst you just listen to gens pop left, right and center. Exhilarating. Amazing behavior. It's such a fun time. And if you do terrible, there is always the chance you are reminded of it in the endgame chat, usually in the form of some nice gamer words. Or even if you somehow manage to capitalize on Survivor mistakes and you manage to pull a win or a close tie, you might very well still be insulted in the endgame chat, usually consisting of survivors telling you to uninstall your life and get a rope. Which, let's be honest, is not something you should have to deal with when all you want to do is play the game, just like anyone else. You should have that right. The killer role right now is oppressive. It requires everything from you and is extremely punishing if you even make 1 or 2 mistakes. You are expected to adapt to all changes, new perks, less than 5-second slugs turning into survivors getting up and pallet stunning you. Even if you down someone and decide to kick a gen, you could quickly turn around and see them already running away, thanks to perks like Conviction and Soul Guard. An absurd amount of pallets that seemingly never end, and you can quite literally find double pallets next to Shack, and just on the other side of Shack you can see another set of double pallets. For 90% of the killer roster, this absolutely sucks. If you are a Legion main, or a Ghostface main, or even a Trapper main, any main that doesn't have a great power against teams and tons of pallets, and that also doesn't have great mobility, you will simply have a harder and more punishing time simply because that's the killer you enjoy to play. Talk about feeling discriminated against. Whereas survivors will complain whenever they see a nurse, a blight, or a ghoul. So, why would someone feeling anxious about all of this just simply loading and accept it? Well, they won't. And soon it will get too much, especially when you silence them enough. And you know as well, because Behaviour consistently asks survivors about their opinions, ranging from what killers do you hate, and what makes you uninstall the game, etc., what exactly do survivors have to learn? Unlike Killer, who if you want to get better at, you have to invest time into your chosen killer. You have to grind and put so many hours in so you can advance and become better at the game. Survivor, on the other hand, seem to just complain all the time and get given strong perks which become more problematic when used with teams using communications. Survivors are not incentivized to learn to be better at the game because, hey, Behaviour said, we will just drop another 30 pallets on each realm and make the majority of them god pallets so that you have to break them. So why would you learn to loop and greed pallets when you can just simply drop pallets and then continue to drop more because you have so many? Exactly. And you don't even need to learn good positioning or even think about respecting the killer's terror radius because you can just put your sprint burst on and wait until the last second before the killer swings and just speed away. These cheap, easy perks that require survivors to do nothing to achieve strong effects is one of the other bigger problems. Not like killers, however. Survivors like to complain a lot about killers bringing 4-gen slowdown builds. However, they fail to realize how bad these are if you simply do not win your chases. Let's take a strong gen slowdown build for example. You've got Corrupt Intervention. This helps in the early game, but once someone is downed, it's gone for the rest of the game. You now have free perks for the rest of that trial. Pain Resonance requires you to chase a survivor, and then down the survivor, and then, if RNG is on your side, place them on a specific scorch hook to get some value, which can only be achieved by hooking separate survivors. Eruption requires you to kick a gen and move away, chase someone, and then down them for its effects to kick in. However, in that time chasing someone, if that gen gets finished, you got zero use out of Eruption, outside of a little information. And then you have Dead Man's Switch, for example, one of the easiest to counter perks. Simply walk to a gen nobody cares about and tap it. You will then proc DMS on a gen that isn't good for the killer, and the killer now has no value from it. All of these so-called killer meta perks like gen slowdowns do absolutely nothing if you aren't winning your chases and getting downs and hooks. Whereas, what does a survivor have to do to get value out of Decisive Strike? Oh yeah, they just die. How do they even get value out of life? Run to a vault and extend chase for free. Maybe it's an M1 killer with no mobility. Well, they will suffer the most. Now, I understand there is a lot to say, but someone has to say it. Killers have to be mentally locked in every second of the match. They have to actually work for their perks to get any value, and if they make a few mistakes, they have probably already lost the game, and the survivors, more times than not, will go in hard on you to make you feel like shit. If a killer brings 4 slowdowns, under the assumption this is the best chance they have to win, and they chase survivors who simply drop every single pallet, and no matter what you do, the complete saturation of pallets is just overkill against most players, and you won't be able to catch them fast enough to get those downs and hooks to actually get any value out of your build, and the gens will simply fly. This means you are basically playing perkless. Every single time a killer hears a gem pop, it can be frustrating. Of course it can, because every gem pop notification can mean one step closer to survivors getting cocky and rubbing things in to make your day feel even worse, which then makes you stress and then can negatively impact your concentration. Do you see? Why this far into the video, why such things as killer anxiety can exist and do exist? You already feel alone. Playing the solo role, you're not asked how you feel or what upsets you in this game by the developers. You are not even included at all. You have pallets after pallets to go through before anything happens, and that's not even accounting for second chance perks, add-ons, and more from the survivors. So you sit there on the menu, wanting to play because you like killer, but worried about what the whole experience could be. And I would maybe suggest try to push yourself in and give it a go. But the problem is, this isn't just regular anxiety, this is killer anxiety, and it is reinforced because you already know the game is stacked against you. You already know there is a big chance of being insulted for simply trying to play and have fun, and this just is not fair. And it is a blatant failure by the devs themselves. As paying customers and people who invest time into your game, killer players deserve the same level of fairness as everybody else. We should not be pushing out survey after survey, asking survivor players how they feel, why they uninstall the game, and what frustrates them, without also including the same for killers. Not doing this is a choice, and it is on your shoulders behavior. Remaining silent and leaving your killer players in silence is actually a choice as well, and you should really do better. So, killer anxiety, it's real. It's not about just turning the game off and going outside, because even if you come back 3 days later, the same will still be here. The game and its balance right now is atrocious. The second chance perks, the insane heal speeds of survivors, the speeds gens can go at, it's all there, and nipping outside to touch grass won't change it. I believe we can do better than this. So if someone asks me, do you think this game right now is survivor-sided or killer-sided? The most obvious answer is survivor-sided, because they are prioritized over anything else. They are included in surveys, they are not silenced, and here is one last point to add to this. When 90% of the killer roster is almost unplayable without having to sweat like your life depends on it, how could it possibly not be survivor-sided? If Blight and Nurse and maybe one more is actually viable and the rest suffer and have it so much harder, how is it even remotely killer-sided? It isn't. Now, because this video is aimed at killer anxiety, I have already discussed many reasons on why killer anxiety exists and what can contribute towards it. It's the overwhelming fear of being told constantly you're not good. It's being BM'd and feeling helpless, when you have to work hard to get value out of your perks and your opponents get theirs so easily, when they get given second and third chances for making mistakes, and when you make one mistake, you're in big trouble. The joy of breaking pallet after pallet and simply feeling like the entertainer and not the killer. It's all there, whilst you play, alone. You are human, just like the survivors, and Behaviour are treating you like less. They always like to talk about data. They know how often people are slugged. They know where people are dropping the pallets the most. They are data obsessed. So Behaviour, if data is so important to you, surely you also have data on every single time a killer has been told to get a rope, or have been degraded by a bunch of other players trying to make them feel horrible inside. You are directly overseeing this, and you choose to remain silent, because you don't even give killers an outlet in your surveys at the very least. You couldn't care less, and you definitely should start to if you want any chance at improving relations with a lot of your community. With all this said, let me give you some form of comfort. I said at the beginning of this video that I would give you some help towards dealing with killer anxiety, and I will keep this promise. The first point I want to share with you is actually a call to action. Please feel free to come on over to our Discord and our Twitch. Let my community help you feel accepted, to be surrounded by more people who also feel the same way as you do. Our community is accepting, it's fun, it's respectful, and we'd love to have you. I have had people reach out to me who genuinely suffer from social anxiety, thank me for making the community that we have because they felt accepted and respected. To put yourself around others who you can relate to will severely help how you feel about this whole situation and the killer anxiety as a whole. Your voice will be heard and you are safe with us. I will also share a little tip because this is something I have done. Now, I don't know how useful this might be to people who love Spirit, but you could probably work something around this. So, when I play killer, if I have ever been having a rough day or I got to the point where I felt like killer anxiety was approaching, I put YouTube on, or some music, anything that grounds me into reality a little bit. Now, it's not on loud, obviously, I still want to be able to hear enough, but even a little bit of background noise can go a long way. This is because it becomes a form of comfort, something that reminds you this is just a game and that nothing bad can personally happen to you, sitting there playing the game. It can be a decent distraction and sometimes can even lead you to feel a little bit better, and you can always pause it and keep on playing. And the last point would be, try to give yourself some credit, gamer. DBD right now and the killer role in general asks a hell of a lot from you. It requires time, patience, strategy, and focus. You have so many things to deal with so many more obstacles in your way. You already have the harder role and job on your hands. So give yourself some credit. No, you're not a shit human. Yes, you deserve to have fun in this game, just like anyone else, and the developers should seriously think about addressing these issues as soon as possible. Again, the Twitch and Discord will be pinned at the top of the comments and in my description, so if you want a place to relate and find similar people, I would highly recommend it. So, that's where we're at right now. Killer anxiety is a genuine, real thing. And if you're out there and you've ever felt like this, just know you have a place where you can go right now and join in on the conversation. I thank you guys so much for all the continued recent support. Recently, you have blown it out the park, and I really am so grateful. I will continue to speak the truth, I will continue to give a voice to those who need it, and I will keep it real. I love transparency, and I will always remain transparent towards my community. And we can also get back into the games and have some fun. We'll get those killer dubs, and we'll put a big smile on all your guys' faces, because actually, entertainment is the one thing I love doing the most for my community, and I'd be more than happy to have you. That's all the time I have for today, gamers. I will be releasing some more Vecna Killer content shortly, so thank you for bearing with me. This matters to me because I believe I am passionate enough about this game to see it thrive, and I want this change to happen. The devs need to come out and be honest and admit their faults and include everybody in this community. That's the first stage to allow us to take first steps. I will continue to be a voice for those who feel like they don't have one, so thank you so much for watching and for all the support of late. You guys are the real ones. Until next time, gamers.